Hey guys, I'm glad you're back again. I know I left you on a cliffhanger, and honestly, I still don't remember what I was going to say, but I'm glad you're here.
In the right timing.
It'll come back to me, and it's going to be like that moment where it's like, that was it.
So tell me this.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go back. We're going to start talking about some childhood things. Because really, trauma that happens as a child will show evidence when you're an adult.
Yeah.
So a lot of things that you're struggling with adult, you could probably pinpoint back to a childhood moment. So I wanted to kind of ask you, what was that childhood moment for you that you could tell people that was your traumatic moment you had to overcome?
Yeah, so I mean, I grew up in a wonderful home. You know, we went to church. You know, my dad used to do these fun kids clubs, and my mom was always just a very good mom, always took care of all the needs we had. But when I was a teenager, or even 7 actually, I started finding out that I had a decent voice, and everybody was like, oh my gosh, you're such a good singer, you know, and on the spot, everybody would tell me, oh, just sing a song. We'd be at Fazoli's.
Sing Jackie
and everybody would be like, sing a song. And so I would, but now if you ask me to sing a song, I'm always like, no, I won't do it. So I'm sorry. I'm still working through some of that trauma. But, you know, I came across a family friend, came across somebody in our town he had a recording studio. Okay. And he had heard me sing, and he was like, wow, there's a lot of potential here, you know, I would love to record her, and it wasn't going to cost us, you know. My mom and dad were like, wow, that's awesome, you know. It's something I felt called to, I felt like I was really good at and everything, so I started going in and writing music and recording, you know, and this guy became a very good family friend. He would I think even came to Thanksgiving, you know, with my big family, with my grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins and everybody, you know, and he went to church, not to our church, but he went to church, and he was a sound guy. And so, you know, from the outside looking in, I mean, what ideal situation, you know, and my mom and dad, we trusted him, you know, I trusted him.
Seems like a good situation.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it seems like a great situation. Well, over time, you know, recording takes a lot of time. And so you have to understand, when you're doing an album or doing songs, it's hours in the studio, you know, and hours doing things over and over again sometimes, or even setting up. So my mom and dad,
a vulnerable place too.
Well, writing music requires a lot of vulnerability, you know, especially if it's you writing about an experience. Yeah. So I was being very vulnerable. I was 14, you know, how vulnerable can a 14-year-old be? But I was. And I think this guy really did see an opportunity, you know, and so he started telling my parents, hey, you guys could just leave her here, or I can pick her up from school, you know, and with the level of trust we had kind of felt like we built with him, it didn't seem like it would be a big deal. But, you know, he was a predator, and a 14-year-old girl, I didn't know any better, you know. I was just in moments flattered that this man thought I was good, thought that I sang good, or that I was beautiful. And so it went from little compliments like that into, you know, him basically persuading me to think that we were in a relationship, you know. And he then started sexually molesting me and things, and then what happened was he found a girl who was 18, who means that she was legal, and he then kind of just stopped talking to me and moved that girl into his house, and it was traumatic, you know. It was wait, I thought we were in a relationship. I'm 14, you know. 14-year-olds, they're vulnerable is what it is, you know, and I was in a very vulnerable place. But that whole experience, even though I moved past it, I didn't really know it was going to get dragged with me into marriage. You know, you don't really realize these things and how they affect you. You know, it's a deep core thing that I feel like the enemy wants to be you're not good enough, you're trash, you know, or you're weak, you know, and stuff. And then that becomes almost a core identity that you hold on to. And when we got married, you know, I didn't really know that was there, you know, and we always
I was the first person you told everything about, so I didn't even know how to handle it either.
Right.
But I always thought your approach to it or your touch of it was like something I've never experienced before. Because to me, when I heard it, I'm like, let's go find this son of a biscuit and let's show him what it was. And you had this amount of like, I forgave him. And God will ultimately.
And I did
telling me that.
Forgive him, and I moved on. But the thing I didn't realize was that I hadn't really gotten healing.
Yeah.
And so when we got married, and even so when we got together, I was the one that was more pursuing you, because I felt like that was the only way somebody was going to love me. That was the only way I could know that Daniel really liked me, is if he expressed it physically to me. And so he actually really wanted to wait until we got married and everything. But I pressured him. I was like, nuh-uh, we're going to do this because I need to know, but that was part of that core identity. Like I really thought that that's the only way you could know that somebody was interested,
True.
And so, our relationship when we got together was great, but then we got married, and when you're married, you're living with somebody and you're with them all the time, and the intimacy for us was the hardest thing for years. Like, it's not that we didn't like each other, it's not that we weren't attracted to each other, it was none of that. It was literally, I could not find a place of vulnerability, and it was a core thing in me, and I had to go through some intensive counseling to break off those false identities that the enemy
years of counseling
had put on me. Yeah, and having kids in the mix of all that, it was like adding gasoline to the fire. And so that's just kind of a little bit of my childhood trauma story. And I can say now, that I feel like I have received full healing.
Yes.
For the fact that I can even sing songs and I could go to a studio and record, it's a miracle. Like, God has definitely done a work, and He's taken off those old identities from me, and He's given me new things. So if you've ever gone through something like that, sexually been abused by somebody who was in a place of trust, I just want you to know it's not your fault. And sometimes it's even the sickness that they were born, or that something was put on them when they were young.
Everything comes from a spiritual aspect. So obviously we don't necessarily know this guy's story.
Yeah.
But everything is influenced by either light realm or dark realm, and so you have to realize that what things we don't break and overcome in our childhood could actually be the very same thing that we end up doing to others.
Yeah.
Is what I've seen in a pattern of things. But it's a beautiful
even
story.
For example, I don't know if any of you have watched that Quiet on Set with like Drake Bell and everything from Nickelodeon. Like, he was sexually abused as a young man, and then as he's older, he's come out that he's had a hard time with those kinds of things in his adult years, like wanting to do that to other children, and he's getting help and healing, but like, it's a demonic generational curse. We do not war against flesh and blood. We war against spiritual principalities. That's right. Guys.
That's good.
This is no joke. It is literally happening, and it is a snowball effect sometimes in families or people, and there's healing and there's hope in it, and I just want you guys to know that. And if you have any questions or any prayer requests, I'm an open book, so please message us, and I would love to chat with you or just pray with you and believe for your full healing.
Amen.
And wholeness.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Bye, guys.